Right everyone, it is Finn here, and welcome to my UEFA final predictions, where today we're going to be talking about the final of the Conference League, the Europa League, and ultimately the one you all care about, the Champions League.
Yeah, baby!
I always feel like it gets quite weird once we get to the end of the season and all these finals happen. Once again, it gets quite sad because we do have to prepare for the fact that we're going to go a month or two without football now. But of course, 3 gigantic finals to talk about today, and I am so excited for it. Of course, don't forget to put in the comment section down below your predictions, because I mean, if I have to get criticized for my opinions online, I guess it's only fair that you guys do too.
That's not how any of this works.
But of course, jokes aside, don't forget to put your predictions down below for these 3 fantastic games. We're going to start off with the Conference League, and I'm going to try my best throughout this video to not say of course all the time. But of course, starting off, Fiorentina versus West Ham. It's quite an interesting matchup. Obviously, looking at West Ham United, they did quite well in Europe last season, and in the Premier League this season, they haven't done that well.
No, none at all.
So of course, a lot of pressure, I keep saying of course again, a lot of pressure on a European final here, and it would be huge for them, because obviously not doing well in the Premier League this season, if they win the Conference League, they qualify for Europa League next season, which would be mental for them, and a tiny bit of a strange season. And obviously with very few injuries in their squad, I think Skimak is the only current injured player, I do think West Ham United have a very strong team here, and they need to capitalize on the situation.
Was good enough.
Saying that, Fiorentina, obviously also a really good squad, although 11th place in Serie A this season, it is doing relatively well considering they lost Vlahovic last season. Saying that, losing a top striker like Vlahovic, they really have struggled in terms of goals. Only their 8th best attack in Serie A this season, but also reaching the Coppa Italia final, showing that they can reach finals. I mean, saying that, they did lose to Inter, showing that they can lose finals as well.
He's out of line, but he's right.
But at the end of the day, Fiorentina still have an absolutely brilliant squad, because although Jovic isn't really scoring at the moment, once again we know that he is a striker who has scored goals in the past. Obviously, Amrabat in that midfield, they've got a really good strong squad, and very underrated in Europe at the moment. Saying that though, versus West Ham United, I do think that the Hammers will take it. I do think David Moyes will finally win a trophy with this team, and I think West Ham United are going to win the final, and I'm going to go with a 1-0 win.
Getting a wee bit naughty at the end there, so just watch yourself. You might get...
Once again, West Ham United haven't been brilliant on the goal-scoring front this season. I do think players like Jared Bowen has really slowed down. Although saying that, once again, we do see sparks of brilliance every here and there, every now and then. But at the end of the day, West Ham United's output this season just has not been good enough, and they really have to use this opportunity to spring forward for next season. Because the only way that I can really see them improve next season is to qualify for Europe. Therefore, I think it is detrimental for them to win a final like this. Obviously, they've got absolutely brilliant players within the squad, but obviously looking to lose the likes of Declan Rice next season, as he probably will go to a team like an Arsenal, like a Manchester City, or some other top European club.
So long, partner.
I do think they really have to use this opportunity if they want to have that kind of pull factor next season. If they want to bring in big players next season, they need to win this European final, and as I said, I think they'll do so with a 1-0 win. Obviously, looking at our Europa League final game, it of course is the team that essentially owns the Europa League, with Sevilla versus Roma. Now, of course, 2 huge talking points here. Obviously, looking at Sevilla winning 6 times the Europa League, more than any other team in the history, versus Roma, obviously managed by Jose Mourinho and his fantastic European record. Looking at Jose Mourinho, he has never lost to European final, and he's reached 5 in his career.
Respect, man.
Game to absolute regulars when it comes to European football, and it is going to be an absolutely mammoth game. Neither teams being necessarily superb in their domestic seasons. Obviously, Sevilla 10th place at the moment, Roma currently 6th place, and a lot lies on the line for these 2 teams. This is the only way Sevilla can qualify through Europe. Obviously, Roma currently qualifying for the Europa League, but if they win it, they skip that step and go straight to the Champions League, which once again, if Jose Mourinho keeps this up, I mean, this could be a 2nd European trophy in a row with Roma.
This is football heritage,
which is mental to think about. Obviously, once again, as I said, they didn't quite do as well as I thought they would in Serie A this season. Tammy Abraham having an absolutely gigantic fall off in terms of his goal scoring, but saying that, players like Paulo Dybala at least contributing as well. But we know this Jose Mourinho, and we know this Roma team, that they can still lose weird points here and there, and that nothing's guaranteed, especially versus a team that's got such a gigantic record in Europe, and especially a team like Sevilla, who have beaten both Juventus Juventus and Manchester United to get to this point in the competition.
I'm kind of a big deal.
They are European giants in their own right, and they really do hold a stronghold in this competition. I think the only thing that really worries me is their defense at the moment. Obviously, they're really struggling in that centre-back position. I think that's been a huge part to their downfall in the domestic season so far in the Liga, as they did lose huge players like, who's that centre-back who ended up joining Aston Villa? That guy. They obviously lost Kunde as well, and they've really struggled with that. Obviously, in terms of injuries, they've lost the likes of Marcelo to injury, obviously one of their strongest centre-backs. And in terms of that centre-back position, it's not strong at the moment. So whether they can hold off players like Paulo Dybala, like Tammy Abraham, players like that, once again, it is going to be a gigantic matchup. And in terms of the result, once again, I've got no idea what to go for here. And I do think it has potential to be a 1-1 draw, and I do think it will go to penalties, where I think maybe, you know what, I'm going to go for Roma on this one.
I am Jose Mourinho.
I think Roma will win it on penalties, and Jose Mourinho will continue his fantastic record. But of course, that takes us to our Champions League final prediction, which of course, guys, don't forget, if you have enjoyed this series so far, my prediction videos, and you would like to see more in the future, don't forget to subscribe down below, and don't forget to leave a like down below. But looking at it, Manchester City versus Inter. Now, of course, Manchester City, I would argue as a Manchester United fan, is maybe the strongest team in world football at the moment. I mean, you have to be somewhat good. If you absolutely run over Real Madrid, not many teams are able to do that. Pep Guardiola showing time in and time out that he could go down as the best manager in football history.
That's one of the most stupid questions I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, the things he's done with Manchester City. He's obviously got the FA Cup final on the way to their Champions League final, and he could be treble winners with this Man City team come the end of the season, which, considering looking at them in the Premier League this season, a month or two ago, people thought that Man City were having an absolutely dreadful season, considering they were so far behind Arsenal, but Arsenal doing their best to bottle this season.
I have potato blood in my veins.
I mean, they really must have had to put effort into bottling the season, because Man City, with the game or two left, have already won the Prem. But once again, jokes aside, looking at this Man City team, I mean, I really can't fault them, to be honest with you. I think in terms of defense, obviously one of the best in Europe. On the attacking front, once again, you've got Haaland, who absolutely smacked a 30-year-old record in the Premier League. This man is the best striker in world football at the moment.
You like schnitzel?
And versus this Inter team, it's going to be really interesting, because looking at Inter, obviously just winning the Coppa Italia, currently third place in Serie A, and in terms of defense versus an attacker like Haaland, they've got Andre Onana, once again heavily underrated as a goalkeeper. He's gotten 19 clean sheets in 39 games across all competitions, including 8 in 12 Champions League games. As far as a goalkeeper goes, Andre Onana might have been the best in Europe this season. He's been absolutely monstrous, and he will do his best to lock out the likes of Haaland, of Alvarez, of Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne. Once again, what a matchup this is going to be. I also think on the attacking front, maybe Inter will have something to prove versus Man City that Real Madrid didn't. Because although, yes, Real Madrid have some of the best attackers in the world,
That's an understatement.
looking at Martinez so far for Inter this season, what an absolute beast he's been. Scoring 20 goals in 36 Serie A games. Obviously, Champions League, he hasn't been great. Only 3 goals in 12 games, which could be a major concern here. But once again, in terms of scoring the important goals, he is there. Obviously, scoring 2 goals in the Coppa Italia final. Once again, he has been a big game player. Obviously, wasn't brilliant at the World Cup, but versus Man City, what a chance for him to redeem himself. And hey, I'm just saying this, if Inter somehow end up winning the Champions League final, Martinez is a serious shot for top 5 of the Ballon d'Or this year.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
For what he did at the World Cup. Obviously, captaining Inter to a Champions League final is absolutely gigantic by itself. In terms of Europe, this is going to be an absolutely gigantic matchup. Man City never winning a Champions League before, Inter having a gigantic history in the Champions League, winning it multiple times. And of course, this is their first final in 12, 13 years, I believe, and a lot is on the line. But of course, in terms of a prediction, although I do want to say Inter have a fantastic history in the competition, I have to give it to Man City, and I'm going to give it to them with a 3-2 lead. You know what, actually, we've seen so many close Champions League finals lately. I actually think Man City could run away with it with a 3-1 win.
Whoa.
Unless, obviously, Pep Guardiola does something absolutely stupid like he did 2-3 years ago in the final, where he played Raheem Sterling after not playing him the entirety of that second half of the season. I do think Man City should win this. They are the best team in world football at the moment. In terms of attack, defense, absolutely everything about them, you just can't fault them. Once again, don't get me wrong, Inter absolutely gigantic team, but I just think Man City have a bit more of a cutting edge. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my UEFA final prediction videos for the 22-23 season. What an absolutely brilliant competition it's been. I think we have to give a lot of credit to Italian football at the moment, having 3 teams across all 3 finals, and it really does show that maybe Italian football is going to make a tiny bit of a comeback.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
But at the end of the day, I'm so excited for the games. Don't forget to put your predictions down below, of course. I'm always excited to see what you guys say. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all of that stuff. It really does help the channel out. And I'll see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.